Welcome to Connect 2021. Please welcome to the stage Jamie Kaiser, COO and CCO at Talend.
Hello, and welcome to Connect 21. So much has happened since our last Connect, and I'm sure you've all been as busy as we have. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. We can't wait to show you what we've been up to the past 12 months. Today's agenda is absolutely packed full of exciting announcements, inspiring stories from our customers, and a couple of surprises along the way. Let's get started. To kick things off, here's something a little different. We decided to show the world what Talend was all about. We strongly believe that healthy data is the key for success, and companies that don't are left completely in the dark. In fact, they literally would be better off using a crystal ball to make decisions. We imagined what that might look like. I hope none of you ever have to work with somebody like this, but we had a lot of fun making this ad campaign, and we hope you enjoy it too.
Yes, Gregory, I hear your presence. The numbers are coming in now. We will be up 32% this year. Tina, the typing's a little distracting.
Leaving your business decisions up to destiny? There's no substitute for healthy data. Talend.
I don't know about you, but I'm on Team Tina. So that was Cosmo, Chief Destiny Officer. Cosmo clearly doesn't worry about data health. He's just there to let fate make the decisions. Oh, and it looks like Cosmo, the Chief Destiny Officer, is in the chat. What's that, Cosmo? It looks like Cosmo has provided some prizes for us to give out today. What's this? Did anyone else have a magic 8-ball as a kid? Did I just date myself with that reference? Oh, good, some of you remember them. We want you all to be in on the fun, so listen. Throughout today's event, you'll occasionally see a magic 8-ball pop up on the screen. Be one of the first people to respond in the chat with the word magic, and we'll ship you a custom decision-making ball just like this one. Sound good? Okay. Speaking of the chat feature, let's test it out now. Using the chat box on your screen, please let us know where you're joining from today. And while you're doing that, I'd like to invite our co-host for Talend Connect on stage. Please meet our Director of Global Events, Wendy Lageson.
Hey, Jamie. Oh, it's so good to be here.
So good to be with you, Wendy. Thanks.
You bet. Hey, everybody.
Check out this cool magic 8-ball for decision making. Should we try it out?
I think we should.
All right. Are there any data questions that you need help with?
How about, is the pipeline going up in EMEA?
Let's check. It says signal lost. Let's try again. Oh yeah, it says why the heck not?
I love it. That's awesome.
Great.
Where can I get one?
Well, you're in marketing, so I bet you know the right people to ask, but let's figure out how the folks at home can get one. I'd love for our amazing customers to have one of these mailed to their home or office. Remember, throughout the day, we will have 2 ways that you can win a magic 8-ball of your own. When you see that decision ball pop up on the screen at any one of today's sessions, don't forget to respond with the word magic. The second way is to tweet the hashtag #DataNotDestiny and give us your craziest data story.
I love it. I can't wait to hear the stories. I'm going to take this, and I am going to jump online and see what kind of comments we get.
Great.
Thanks, Jamie.
Let me know. Now, as much fun as these are, I think we all know that leaving our critical business decisions to Chief Destiny Officer like Cosmo or a toy like the Magic 8-Ball, not the solution. Here at Talend, we strongly believe that healthy data, meaning data that's clean, compliant, and accessible, is the key to making successful business decisions. Companies that don't prioritize their data health are leaving their most critical business decisions to chance. They might as well shake that magic 8-ball because they're currently in the dark. We designed today's session specifically for data professionals like you. We want you to leave today confidently knowing what it means to have healthy data, why you need it across your organization, and how you can get it. Most importantly, we want you to leave with an action plan to pursue and maintain data health. We're excited to dig in. You're about to see some outstanding speakers today. You have 3 breakout tracks to choose from. And whichever one you pick, you'll hear motivating stories from real Talend customers. These customers are here with us today to share how healthy data drives their business success, and they've found it gives them quite a competitive edge. Now let's get the day started.
And now, welcome to the stage the CEO of Talend, Christal Bemont.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Talend Connect. I am so happy to be here with you today. You know, we live in incredibly uncertain times right now. But one thing is for sure, we are all impacted by the things that are happening around us, and we're all looking for the best ways to navigate the unknowns. Have you heard that they actually ran out of beer in England? It's true. The pub chain in the UK called Wetherspoons. When you go to one of their pubs and you just like a pint of beer, well, you can't have it. British papers are reporting that the pubs are actually turning customers away. Can you imagine having to turn customers away? You can't have your beer because Brexit has created a shortage of truck drivers. If the truck drivers aren't working, then the beer can't be delivered and you can't get your pint. I don't need to tell you that doing business isn't easy. There are all kinds of changes and considerations and limitations to consider. We've always known that. That's just doing business. But over the last 18 months, business hasn't gotten harder. It's just plain weird. Have you noticed this? For example, if you want to buy a sofa, you can't, because the storms in Texas this past February knocked out the factories that produce propylene oxide. That's the major ingredient in upholstery foam. So you'll have to wait a short 25 weeks for your sofa. The average price to ship a 40-foot container around the world has quadrupled since last year because there's fewer workers that are available to unload the ships. And returning the containers takes more time than ever. There are literally dozens of ships parked outside the busiest port in the United States, not far from here, in Los Angeles, California. And they're still waiting to be unloaded. These delays cost billions of dollars for businesses. But it's not just simply supply chain that's creating the problems. Every single industry around the world, including aerospace, healthcare, manufacturing, to name a few, are feeling the effects of the global shortage of things like computer chips. Chip factories had to close because of the pandemic, and now we're dealing with the backlog. A globalized economy has been terrific for efficiency and scale, but recent events have made it a disadvantage, and that's really clear. Quite frankly, it's a butterfly effect. One tiny factor, totally out of your control, can completely mess up your business. Listen, this is change, deep, radical change, and this change will never, ever stop. Think about that for a moment. The discombobulation you feel, this isn't going to go away. This is the reality of doing business in 2021. You have a simple storm in Texas, a chip manufacturer closure in Malaysia, a decision that a politician makes in London. Any one of those things could make doing business more difficult. All of these changes and complications are just going to become more profound. 2021 looks different than 2020 did, and 2022 will look different than 2021. We are living in a new world. This is a fragile world, a world that's still figuring things out, a world where people will feel like they're not in control because there are too many unknowns to comprehend. How do you navigate a world where you feel out of control? Better yet, how do you do business successfully when so many people feel that way? In unprecedented times, what possible tools exist today that can restore a sense of control and your confidence in solving these challenges. I'm going to guess that you probably think what I'm going to say is data. Data's the answer, right? But is it the answer? Is it really? I lead a data integration company, and I'm telling you that data alone won't always guide you to success. Why would I say that? I would say that because lots of companies in our industry will tell you that the answer to all of your questions is simply getting access to all of your data. If you have all of your data and you put it in the right place, and then you'll magically become a data-driven company, right? Everyone's going to live happily ever after you get all of your data. Okay, so let's say you do have all of your data. Do you really fix your problems? Or actually, do you put yourself at more risk? You know, we did some research, and earlier this year, business leaders just like yourselves decided, after looking at what they actually do with data, that 36% of executives, over a third, do not use the data that's produced to make the majority of their decisions. I don't know about you, but this staggers me. This blows my mind that with all the research, all the evidence, and all the anecdotes out there that reveal the power of data, that a third of the leaders just say, nope, I'm not going to use it. Here's another thing. Only 35% of data users, the analytics, the business teams who use it for insights, actually trust the data they use. IT leaders, you're spending all of this time and money and effort to pull together data sources for parts of your business. And guess what? Your colleagues either don't use it or they don't trust it. Why not? It's such an irony because data, the thing that we use to measure every important aspect of our business, isn't used and it isn't measured. How crazy is it that there are so few ways to actually measure data quality, or its trustworthiness, or its usefulness? Why do we accept this? How can we accept this? Let me illustrate just how absurd this is. Let's say you get on a plane, hopefully at some point very soon we'll all be getting on planes, and you glance into the cockpit. As you know, there are a ton of dials and indicators. Let's imagine this represents the data in your business, and let's ask the pilot, what does all of this mean? And the pilot tells you, well, I don't know, I don't really use it, or I don't trust it. But it's all good because they're here. How crazy is that? How crazy is it the thing that would be flying your plane, the instrument panel, is something that either isn't used or isn't trusted? How crazy is it that you would get on that plane? I wouldn't. Beam on out, I would be hitting the emergency exit. No way. But this is what goes on. Here's another way to think about it. There are two most critical assets that you have in your company. Your first one, your people. The second one is your data. You have no idea how your employees are feeling if you just walk around and look at them. That's why we have surveys and productivity measures, things that measure how people are feeling. It gives us concrete proof of how our workforce is doing. So why do we accept so little visibility into the status of the other critical business asset, our data? Where's the demand for credibility and accountability? It's nuts. It's unacceptable, and it has to change. Most data management companies say that if you just move data faster or put it in the cloud or get access to every single bit of available data, then your business will be okay. You will be able to navigate these unprecedented times. I don't believe that, and I think it's a little bit of a fairy tale. What you're actually doing is creating what I would like to call a digital landfill of data. I actually think we're causing more problems in some cases. It's not so much that the data management as is it's data hoarding. We're building a pile of stuff that is actually harmful and useless to you. And it grows by the second. It takes up more and more of your time, money, and it creates more and more risk for your business. We are creating companies that are literally drowning in their own data. You think data can be a sail, something that helps you lead you where you need to go. But actually what's happening is it's creating an anchor. Your own data, one of the two most valuable assets in your company, is dragging your business down. And if you keep the status quo, you won't ever resurface. Now, I know that sounds a little harsh and potentially a little bleak, but I believe this to be true. Imagine a new chief information officer or a new chief data officer comes into your business, and they want to know the status of your data operations. Can you document that your data is good or bad? Or whether your business trusts it? It's time to establish standards for your data. It's time to be able to quantify just how good your data is. In uncertain times, the last things you want is to be uncertain about your data. That's why we have invented a concept called data health. Our goal with data health is to give companies the ability to develop a deeper understanding of their corporate data. We want to make sure that the data is ready to drive and support every business action you undertake. Data health is about measuring and managing data so that it can support your business objectives. It goes beyond simple data management. That is table stakes. It offers something we've never had before: real, tangible, quantifiable standards for the holistic well-being of data. How accessible is it? How accurate is it? How trustworthy is it to the people who need it? To get there, data health solutions offer preventative measures. They provide effective treatments and create a company culture in which data is accessible, trusted, and valuable. This ensures that your data is clean, complete, and uncompromised. Data health is not just a moment in time, because business conditions and the data itself is constantly changing. Weird stuff happens that you can't predict. Good products dedicated to data health will accommodate and reflect that. You can go to bed at night and not have to worry that something's going wrong in your data and that it'll affect everything across your entire business. Listen, one of the reasons that I like the concept of data health is because it's just like your own personal health. It's a goal and a journey you go on. You want to stay healthy. You have a lifelong habit of diet and exercise. Plus, health is measurable. You can get your blood pressure taken. You can get your pulse checked. There are specific standards to measure health, good health and bad health. The same should be true about your data. You have to develop a lifelong habit of good data management to ensure your data stays healthy throughout its lifetime. You have to monitor the status of your data and fix it when it goes wrong. It's an everyday, ongoing process. When you're dedicated to data health, the payoff is fantastic. There's no better proof than the real stories from real people who have achieved their goals. We're going to be talking with our customers today who have seen incredible results from investing in the health of their data. In a few minutes, you'll hear from David Malloy of the Estee Lauder Companies, who led the transformation of his company's entire business model with no layoffs whatsoever during the pandemic. But right now, I want to spotlight one particular story. It's one that I love because it's about innovation and something that, quite frankly, we can all achieve. We work with a company called Vyaire Medical. They're based out of the US in Chicago. You'll hear from them a little bit later today. Vyaire is a respiratory care company, and they build a number of products like ventilators. Vyaire had identified a need for better, cleaner, healthier data to run their business. However, like many companies, they had some issues to solve. They had an enormously complex infrastructure with a significant technical debt. They had 12 ERP systems. Some of you could probably relate. And they had a number of legacy systems that simply couldn't scale. This made it really difficult to find and access the right data. The company also lacked confidence in their data quality. Data was used differently by different groups throughout the company, and as a result, the data used for analytics was confusing and many people didn't trust it. Quite frankly, this couldn't go on. So in 2019, their CIO, Ed Rybicki, decided he would provide accurate data for the business that everyone could access and trust. And he did just that. With the assistance of the brilliant partner Wavicle, he and his team delivered a cloud-based enterprise data platform that reduced their infrastructure cost, awesome, enabled the organization-wide data literacy and trust, also awesome, and sped up the insight to decision loop. Now, this result alone would have been pretty great, but this new data platform also turned out to be extremely forward-looking investment. They say that the necessity is the mother of invention, but in this case, it was the mother of innovation. You see, in 2020, as we all know, the pandemic hit, and Vyaire found itself with an order from the US government for 20,000 ventilators. Now, a ventilator isn't a simple product to build. Quite frankly, it's a complex feat of engineering and manufacturing. And ramping up production to the level they needed would be a serious challenge. To scale operations to unprecedented levels, they needed to have accurate data that they could trust. With their new data platform, they were able to meet that demand. Ed says that having trusted, accurate data that the entire company used and believed in completely transformed the way they were able to do business. They were able to increase ventilator production from 6 per day to 600 per day. Vyaire used healthy data to save lives. In this evolving business environment, there are way more unknowns than knowns. Are you prepared for them? When the next crisis or opportunity comes to you, what will you do? There's zero preparation for something like a pandemic. No one knows at Vyaire that could have happened. They couldn't have modeled that or predicted that. And yet, they were able to navigate a difficult situation. That's why they were able to meet that demand. Every company needs documented universal standards on the quality, accessibility, and the security of its data. This helps the entire business reach a shared understanding of their data's reliability and accuracy. That's when the data becomes really valuable to you. We believe that a time will come in the not so distant future when the health of a business can be assessed based on the health of the data. This is not a like to have or a need to have, this is a must have. Who would want to invest in a business that had bad data? Who would want to be part of a company that couldn't scale, that had no flexibility, couldn't pivot, or was flying blind? You wouldn't do it. Once data standards are established, getting a pulse on the health of any business will be much easier. And once we have those standards, every CEO in the world will say, I need this. And like we've seen with Google Maps, once you have it, you can't imagine a life without it. We share this vision of data with Accenture. They predict that data will be an asset reported and accounted for in a company's balance sheet and reflected in its market cap. But what will those reporting standards look like? And what will it take to get there? Okay, so to outline this vision, I want to introduce Shail Jain, the global lead of data and AI at Accenture. Shail, I couldn't be happier to have you on today. How are you?
Great, Christal. Good to see you as well.
Oh my gosh, it's so great to talk to you. You know, I know we've talked a couple times recently about a concept that you feel very passionate about and that you're taking head on in terms of data being a capital business asset. And I'd love for you to talk us through that a little bit. I know you've shared with me McDonald's as a great example, so maybe you can just give me your perspective and if you'd like, share a little bit about McDonald's as well.
As brick and mortar companies become more and more competitive against their digital native counterparts, they need to essentially reinvent themselves using data, what we call data-driven reinvention. And a key way to do that is to really start treating data as the new capital. Just the way they treat financial, human, and intellectual capital to propel the organization forward, they need to treat data as a strategic asset as well. What does that really entail? It entails you to, number one, have a comprehensive data strategy, which is a strategy that actually dovetails your business goals into a technology and a data strategy. You need to then build a data and AI platform, a data foundation that enables that data strategy. And equally as important is to have data governance and data management processes to make sure that this data lake doesn't become a data swamp, for example, or you are continuing to raise the quality of your data as well. Last but not least is the fact that you need to have a very strong foundation of culture and data literacy. You need to have a data culture as well. And McDonald's is a great example of that data culture. This initiative from McDonald's came from the very top, where they realized that for them to compete effectively against the trends in the industry, for example, food delivery services, companies that were able to do that gained competitive share against them very quickly. And that kind of woke them up. And they realized that they need to go beyond, they need to leapfrog the competition and really use data as a strategic asset to do things such as personalizing menus, doing geofencing to make sure that they can serve their customers as they're approaching with hot, burgers, if you will, or fresh burgers. And at the same time, making sure that they can ensure the supply chain, the fairness in the supply chain as well. And they use analytics to do all that. And at the very basic basis of it was the data foundation that they built, enabled by a data culture and data literacy throughout the organization.
I love when you talk about that story. I think there's so many different elements in it, but I don't find it to be unique in terms of the fact that a lot of companies are struggling with the same thing and looking for those opportunities. A couple things that you said in there almost went to the, what happens if you don't do this, and that data lake, and things can actually become risky and very confusing. And maybe I call it this, this data landfill if it's not properly managed. And so I'm just curious, with so much value and so much opportunity, why do you think things end up in that state, or where companies end up at a point of risk? I guess it's the opposite of that story you just told, because I feel like a lot of people are struggling with that. Why do you think that is?
I think it comes down to two fundamental things in our experience. One is a lack of a comprehensive enterprise-wide top-down data strategy. And if you don't have the right data strategy, which actually encompasses a lot of things, so it's not just to make sure that your data strategy and your technology strategy is aligned with your business strategy, but you also have a top-down culture, and which means that you have data literacy, you have data governance, you have the right tools, and you're making sure that there is data citizenship built in. Because if you don't have the right quality of data that you can trust, nobody's going to use the data. If you don't have the right culture, you could have the best algorithms, but they're never going to see the light of day. So we see this as the primary reason is the lack of a very comprehensive data strategy, and the other being a lack of commitment from the executives for a data culture, because culture starts at the top. And those are the two primary reasons as to why we see companies not doing as well as they can.
I think it's important that you talk about it being something that's pervasive. It goes throughout the organization, and something that's really set at a place where it's not an option. It's a must-have, and it's part of it sounds like, culture. This is where you see the best in class. Do you believe this is something that can happen all at once, or do you believe this is something that has a gradual kind of momentum building? What have you seen in terms of best in class?
Yeah, so I see gradual progress in this. So, for example, if you look at 2012, only 12% of the organizations had CDOs. Today, that number is somewhere in the 70%. And by 2025, it'll be 90%. And that to me is a sign of an executive commitment to have a data champion in the organization. And also, as you see, the role of CDOs is evolving as well over time, where they were mostly hired in a defensive role for data, what I call deal with data. And now I see them as offensive as well, which is what I call lead with data. So I'm seeing a gradual change, gradual evolution and progress in corporations becoming more data driven. The one trend that has led to an acceleration in this change is COVID, because COVID exposed corporations' lack of agility for not being in the cloud. And so corporations are now in a hurry to get onto the cloud. And one of the things that we're seeing as they go to the cloud is that data is becoming one of the most important states that they need to migrate to the cloud. And as they migrate their data to the cloud, they're looking to modernize the data as well, because they know this is going to be key for them to enable the analytics that they need to deal with future situations, the black swans like this pandemic, if you will, where they need to use analytics to really analyze and reconfigure their supply chains very quickly. And therefore, the data needs to be in the cloud and it needs to be modernized to use the latest tools in the cloud as well.
Well, if now doesn't point to the supply chain challenges, I was just talking about that a moment earlier, I don't know what will. And I think the point of view that you take on data as an asset is such a strong one, and it has such strong conviction. It's one of the many reasons that Shail, I value our partnership, and I value the alignment that we have in data and how important it is. But you even go as far as saying that you believe one day it'll be an asset that's reported in the balance sheet and reflected in market cap. And thank you. I think that's right on. But I'd love to hear a little bit more about why you think that position will be and why you feel so strongly about that.
So, I think companies get valued on how well they manage their assets, whether it is financial assets or people assets. And increasingly, as data becomes a means for competition, where companies compete on analytics, I think the likes of Wall Street will realize that companies need to be differentiated from each other based on the way they acquire this asset, they refine this asset and use this asset, and also protect this asset as well. Just the way, they are judged on how well they are acquiring, their financial assets and how they grow and refine those assets as well. So I believe very firmly that I think one day there will be a measurement in whether it is a balance sheet or some other ways where companies get valued based on how well they treat data, how well they lead with data.
Well, I love that, and I feel strongly that I don't think we're at a point of return on that. I think there is no place but forward in terms of that kind of thinking being further expressed and realized, because I don't think we're going back to the day where people thought that they didn't need data or they could just keep it in lots of different places in their organization. So the way that you're working on this at Accenture is extremely valuable, and I couldn't appreciate more you sharing your thoughts with us and working on this, because it is a matter of just time. It's not a matter of if, Shail, it's a matter of when all of this starts to take place, my friend. So thank you so much for joining us and sharing your points of view. They complement and they are directly in line with the way that we see the importance of data. And funny enough, Shail, One day, data will be measured, my friend. The very thing that measures everything else will have a measurement for it, right? So
You got it.
thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate it. You know, one of the ways I think people react when they hear about our shared vision of the role data plays in the future of the enterprise is thinking that it can't apply to them. It won't work in their industry, or maybe their company is too attached to its legacy ways. The key thing about data health is that it's a journey. You can't buy it. Data health is a practice and a discipline of actively managing your data every single day. But it's not an insurmountable goal. It can be done. And it's okay if you start with a single step, because that single step may be the first step in a series of steps that can lead to great things. I now want to introduce you to David Malloy, Executive Director at the Estee Lauder Companies. Like everyone here, David has faced the almost unmanageable task of changing his company's entire business model in a matter of months due to the pandemic. The Estee Lauder Companies focus solely on prestigious cosmetics, skincare, and fragrance, with more than 25 brands under their umbrella and over $16 billion in annual sales. Their success is due to a highly people-first, high-touch individual experience. That's a key part of their brand. It's who they are and what they stand for. And any digital transformation needed to keep their people-first values at its heart. That's David's vision, create an entire digital transformation by keeping Estee Lauder Companies' brand values intact. That's a hard thing to do. Who wants to hear how he pulled it off? It is my great pleasure to welcome David Malloy, Executive Director of the Estee Lauder Companies and the recipient of the 2021 Data Masters Award, to the stage. David, welcome.
Thank you so much, Christal. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you today.
I'm just going to say that award was much deserved, my friend. You have just killed it over the last year, and you have not had an easy task. So tell us a little bit about this last year and what's happened, because you have been very busy.
Yeah, our journey has been challenging, as it has been for many. We had, as many did, our lives were interrupted roughly a year and a half ago. We saw this closure of thousands of stores and locations around the world. But more importantly, our people, our consumers, were impacted by an unspeakable event. And we were tasked with a very large challenge. That challenge was to find a way to not only survive, but to thrive. And we had to stick to our core DNA, those values that have made us so successful to this day. So this was not about a reinvention for the Estee Lauder Companies. This was about doing what we do best, delivering high-touch, people-focused, individualized experiences, as you say, so that when we come through this, and we will come through this together, we are positioned not only to recover, but to grow.
I love that. And you know, when we talked last, I had just been looking at your annual report, and what a great year you had. And I know a lot of it has to do with the work that you did. One of the things that really struck me, and it's really the core of what the company is built on, which is high-touch, personalized, meet your customers where they're at. And that makes it really hard when your brick and mortar, when that face-to-face interaction goes away. But you pulled it off. And the omni-channel work and the work that you did to make sure that you could show up for your customers was just amazing. Tell me a little bit about what it was like transitioning from from a brick and mortar to e-commerce and meeting customers online, and how you maintain that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, e-com has been one of the areas where we were actually a pioneer. It was in the late 90s when we opened up our first brand.com or e-com platform. So we've always been on that platform. But one of the things that changed pretty quickly was the challenge of how do we deliver high-touch, hands-on experiences in a digital platform. And while this was happening, we saw a lot of changes in the world and in the industry around us. The use of third-party data was declining. The value of first-party data was becoming king. And we had to very quickly accelerate our efforts around use of first-party data to tailor experiences to our consumers on their chosen platform with a message that was meaningful to them. And one of the things that we're able to do was to build a strong foundation in our data, a platform that was capable of securing this data that was given to us by our consumers with the expectation that we would then in turn deliver them value for that exchange of data. We had to be nimble. We had to make decisions quickly. We had to know where to invest our time, our money, and our efforts. But most importantly, we had to continue to put our employees' health and their safety and their well-being at the center of every decision we made. And we had to be considerate of the fact that our consumers were experiencing something that nobody has ever experienced before. So there was a lot of challenges wrapped up in there at once, but ultimately at the end of the day, we stuck true to who we are as a company. And I think that it's shown in the growth that we have seen in our various digital platforms that we are now integrated with.
Well, I love the story. I love how you talk about how important it is to take care of your people, both internally and externally. It says a lot about the company, and it says a lot about what drives you and what you put first. And one of the themes that we've been talking about is how that's not easy to do when you're constantly looking at uncertainties and all these changes going on, and the unpredictable nature about what that means to take care of your people and to meet your customers where they're at. There are a lot of just crazy things going on right now, even weird with supply chain and so forth. So how do you deal with all the uncertainty and the unpredictability?
Yeah, so there are a couple things. One is we were fast to act. As an example, when our stores closed, we have a number of beauty artists and makeup artists all around the world, the absolute best in the industry. And the ability for them to maintain their relationships with their consumers was absolutely essential to us. So we looked into creating opportunities for them so that they could continue to engage in a virtual platform with their consumers. For those in our supply chain and manufacturing space, we actually pivoted. We retooled one of our manufacturing centers out here on Long Island, New York, to create hand sanitizer so that we can go donate that to our local hospitals and facilities. And I think by giving our teams a sense of purpose and by showing that we were in this together, we really well positioned ourselves, I think, to sort of hunker down during the difficult times and be well prepared to come through on the other side.
Yeah, it's so obvious, and again, why you so deserve that award. It makes me really proud that you're our customer and that we do business with you. So I'm so glad you're here telling your story. One of the things that I know you've talked to me about, and that is, again, kind of a little bit of a theme of what we're referring to here, trusted data. Obviously, data health is so critical to the space we're focusing on. And when you talk about how much you care about your employees and obviously your customers as well, keeping that data, that personal data, protected and secured was something you shared with me. And it left me thinking for a very long time about our partnership with you and making sure that we can help support, especially well into the future. Give me a little bit of background on that, because I know it's something that we talked about, and I'd love to just get your perspective on why it's so important and how do you keep it secure and ensure that it's being viewed and in the hands of the people that it should be in?
Yeah, absolutely. Capturing data or storing data is probably one of the easiest things for a business to do. One of the most difficult things that we had to deal with was an evolving regulatory environment, as well as a shift in the perception of our consumers, specifically in how we use their data. Consumers today are more well informed than they've ever been. They know exactly what we're doing with their information because we are transparent in the use of that data. And it was our responsibility to secure that data on their behalf. Before starting our program several years ago, there was a series of data privacy events at some of our largest companies, and it hurt the reputation and the trust of their consumers. And we kept that close at heart. We wanted to make sure that if we were going to exchange data for services or for a better experience, that we did absolutely everything we could to not only secure that data with the latest and greatest cloud native security infrastructure, but also that we set forth policies in our organization around the use and access to that data, and that we always understood the ethical obligations in how we use data to interact with our consumers to provide them a meaningful but right-sized, personalized experience.
That's awesome. I'm going to wrap up this well stated by you, my friend, reflection of what happened this last year by asking you a question that we've really been focusing on, which is, do you believe there will be a point in the future where data will be an asset, a measurable asset that a company is measured on? You know, funny that data measures everything else for us, but will the data itself be measured, and will it be something in terms of how you handle it, how you protect it, that will be a reflection of the company at some point? Do you believe that that could be in our future?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're here. I think we're there. To be honest with you, this is something that we keep close to us. But throughout the partnership that we've had with Talend, one of the things that we were keen to learn about was the quality, cleanliness, the conciseness of our data, but also the consistency of it. And it became the principles by which our technology teams operate against when handling that data. So yeah, I think we're here now. I think the companies that have the data are going to be the kings in that space. But it's also in how you use it. So I think it's important to also note that it's not just about the volume, it's about the quality and how you're using that data.
Well, you're a great example of all the things that are possible, and I just can't thank you enough, not only for being here, but for being such a great example of a customer that has really taken things to the next level, in my opinion. And quite for myself, and I hope everyone else, I can't wait to see what the future holds. So thank you for being here and sharing your insights.
Thank you so much, Christal. Appreciate it.
I want to thank all of you again for joining us today. We have a fantastic schedule of content available, from deep dives into our product to solving difficult data challenges, plus a look at what you can expect from Talend over the next year. I'm excited about how you can make data health work for your organizations, and I can't wait to see how you'll put data at the heart of your business. Have a wonderful day and enjoy Connect.
Wow. Incredible to hear from Estee Lauder Companies and Accenture, right? Thank you so much for joining us today, David and Shail, and thank you again, Christal. Now, let's talk about a few companies who have put data at the heart of their businesses. We'd like to recognize a very special set of Talend customers who received this year's Talend Data Masters Awards. We give this award to celebrate companies that demonstrate vision and leadership deploying Talend Data Fabric, and their results speak for themselves. A huge congratulations to all our winners across the globe. In North America, Estee Lauder Companies created a consumer data platform driven by Talend. They created a single customer view that personalized the consumer experience and kept sales strong in the face of store closures during COVID-19. And in just 3 months, eBay replaced a 20-year-old platform with a groundbreaking data service hub using Talend. They integrated 300+ applications, modernizing operations and transforming eBay's data ops into a future-ready enterprise. The Orlando Utilities Commission joined forces with Talend to develop their first cloud-based application, the Meter Data Platform, or MDP. This innovative data and analytics platform provides lasting value and sets OUC apart as a service provider and partner of choice. The Hartford is known for service excellence and has consistently harnessed the latest innovations in technology to meet the needs of its customers. Talend helps the Hartford's business in applying data and analytics to enhance its products and services and to make more informed, data-driven decisions. When faced with a surge in ventilator demand caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, Vyaire Medical built a healthy data environment with Talend. This enabled them to deliver near real-time insights from the manufacturing floor to the boardroom and to ramp production to help save lives. Again, congratulations to all our winners. Now let me welcome Wendy back up to the stage.
Thank you, Jamie. And congratulations again to all our Global Talend Data Master Awards winners. Unexpected change is something all business leaders have to deal with, and that's been especially true over the last 2 years. But the key is how you deal with it. Making critical business decisions in the face of change and under pressure is no easy task. But what helps make those decisions successful? You heard it straight from Christal and her guests: healthy data. It sounds simple, but you'd be surprised how many companies just aren't prioritizing data health the way you are by being here today. Now you have a chance to explore those challenges, and more importantly, their solutions, in our next breakout sessions. As we mentioned earlier, you have 3 different breakout tracks to choose from. Our first track is for business leaders. Learn from customers who are dealing with the exact same problems you are. You'll explore how to maximize the value of your existing IT investments and see how to reduce business risk by building data health. The second track is built for data professionals and has more of a technical focus. You'll learn how to bring together your people, your products, and processes to achieve data health. Our third track is for executives. Head over to the Ripple Effect for a fast-paced, dynamic experience and insightful dialogue diving into the impact of healthy data, the reality of leadership, and the power of community. After the breakout sessions, we'll take a quick break, then meet back here in the main room. Take a moment to select your track, and we'll see you soon.